How's it going, lads? It's the Bald Boomer BioSparks. Today, Blizzard has officially announced that they are backpedaling on their stance in terms of the leatherworking drums that we heard about at BlizzCon 2021. Now, as you can imagine, this was met with a big outcry from the community, and there's pretty much going in, you just go into the threads right now and people are going into meltdowns. So for anyone that's not informed or doesn't quite understand what the leatherworking drum meta is, it pretty much is a situation where every single raider in the 25-man team has to be leatherworking, so they have access to these drums that provide a haste bonus for all the raiders involved. Now, what this does is essentially help meet the tight DPS checks for bosses in Sunwell Plateau. Now, people were worried that it was going to be something that was met all throughout Classic, but at the moment, it looks like when we go into the Zulaman patch, these leatherworking drums are going to be part of the game, and because they were seen as an integral part and engaging part of raid mechanics in Sunwell Plateau, they're pretty much going to make sure that they were just as they were back then. So you will still need 25 members needing these leatherworking drums in your raids. So again, a lot of people are worried about this because, again, people don't like to be put into sort of forced into a profession that they don't really get anything out of, just so that they can meet a sort of demand that every 2 minutes they have to press a button when it's their turn that they activate a party-wide buff. I mean, I don't particularly think it's engaging. So yeah, and a lot of other people don't think so either. So it's actually quite disappointing to see this sort of backpedaling on their stance that we had at BlizzCon. So just so that we're absolutely clear, I'm going to show Mr. GM's interview that he had with John Haidt and Brian Birmingham at BlizzCon, and just so that I'm not misconstruing any of their points whatsoever, and it's absolutely clear what their stance was back at BlizzCon.
So I asked the community about what the classic community, what they were most curious about, and the number one thing was leatherworking drums.
Oh, yeah. We haven't called that one out specifically, but it's definitely on our radar. I know, we have certainly been listening to the community complaining about this, or worrying about this, I guess I should really say, leading up to the Burning Crusade announcement. As everybody assumed we would probably do this, they've been saying, but you've got to do something about those drums. And we looked into it, and yeah, we definitely want to make some change there. Yeah. We want to adjust them in some way so it doesn't feel like everybody who wants to be maximally, optimize their output has to go leatherworking. That feels bad when it basically gets down to it's a party-wide buff. It lasts for enough time, with a cooldown of enough time, with no shared cooldown or debuff that you could have. I think it's either 4 or even all 5 members of your party doing a rotation of drums, so that everybody has to have leatherworking to do that. It's okay, well, that's ridiculous. So we're going to do some kind of minor adjustment there to make it so that it doesn't feel compulsory for literally everyone to do it. That said, it's a similar thing where engineering is a really powerful profession in Classic, and we do want to kind of leave that as a powerful profession that has a great advantage. And so we are going to leave leatherworking drums in the game with probably a slight change to make it so that you want to bring leather workers and you want to bring more than one of them, but maybe you don't need to bring 25 of them.
Yeah.
So it's quite clear from that interview that, the stance that Blizzard had at that time was, you wanted to bring more than one leather worker rather than bring all 25 of them. And of course, what we're seeing now from the Blue Post is pretty much the exact opposite. You're still going to need all 25 members of your raid team having leatherworking to get the maximum benefit from those drums. So just looking at the Blue Post now, you can pause if you want to see it properly, but I'm just going to read a couple of key points out. The drums of battle were a meaningful part of the raiding experience in 2008, which is, very debatable. I remember the first time I actually saw the leatherworking drums being used on my server back in 2008, and I've told this story on stream, but essentially what it was, a couple of my arena partners, I saw them all in the Orgrimmar auction house, and they were there with their entire guild, and they were all crafting, all the characters, pretty much the entire guild was doing the crafting animations that their characters use. And I was asking, what on earth are you guys doing? And pretty much they just said, well, if we want to get down Brutalis, we have to use the leatherworking drums, and we hate it, but we got to do what we got to do. And that pretty much was sort of the attitude that raiders had back then. It was something that they just had to do to get the bosses down, not necessarily something that they thought was meaningful or enjoyable. And you can say well, yeah, the DPS output that the drums gave the raids was meaningful, but from a player experience or from the player's perspective, it really was just something that they felt that they just had to do, and otherwise they just weren't going to see the content. And I thought we were moving away from this idea of being forced into professions just to see content getting cleared, as well as all these other guilds that would pretty much it has like a trickle-down effect on guilds where if they feel that the need to get the content cleared requires leatherworking drums, they will start enforcing it for all the players. And that's something that that was pretty much what happened with world buffs, right? We wanted to move away from that. So another part that Blizzard says in this blue post is that would compel us to do raid tuning, which goes against our goal of establishing as much authenticity as possible. So if they ended up changing how leatherworking drums work altogether, or sort of move away from how they functioned, then suddenly they need to sort of step into the actual boss mechanics, or change the raids in particular ways to which will lead to not delivering an authentic experience. Which again, I can see where they're coming from on this point, but again, like, I don't think the community will really care if raids are sort of slightly tuned for a better player experience, but that essence of difficulty is still there. As long as the difficulty and the challenge is still there, and it still is as close to the original experience as possible, I don't really think players are going to really care about that. I mean, again, I'm only one person. You can disagree with me in the comments below if you strongly feel that I'm wrong about this, but again, you just have a look around on forums. Like, a lot of people really just don't want this aspect of the game to go ahead. So at the very end, they say that they are open to making further alterations, which again is kind of like a small beacon of hope in the darkness. But again, this is Blizzard we're talking about. I really wouldn't hold my breath. So it does seem like this leatherworking drum meta is here to stay. They have backpedaled on what they promised us, and this is the sort of future that we're looking at the moment. Remember that this video is being made on the 27th of March 2021. So again, if you're seeing this in the future and they have changed, well, I pray in the future they have changed this, but we'll wait and see. Understand that this is what was happening at this moment in time. So yeah, this looks like what we're going to be dealing with for now. And again, I think it's really up to us as a community to take a stand on this. If you are someone that feels that this is really the wrong direction, the best way to go about it is just speak out, post on Reddit, post on the official WoW forums, just make your voices known. Obviously go about it in a constructive way, because again, just ranting and raving and throwing the toys out of the pram is not what's going to that's not what Blizzard wants to see, right? They're not going to listen to that. But if they see that the community takes a united stance, and they show that this is just something that we are not interested in as a player experience, then hopefully it will change. But we'll wait and see. In any case, that's all I have to say for now. This is the Board Boomer Biosparks, signing out. Catch you lads next time.